tonight.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Artcasters number 129. And tonight we're going to talk a little bit, and we've probably talked about this before, but it's, depending on who we have on and everything, it's always a different story, and it's something I think a lot of people want to know about. So we're going to talk about kind of selling your work online, different routes you can go as far as different platforms where you can sell your work online, different kind of techniques, different places where you can get things printed so you can sell them online. And I think that might be where we want to start after we do the introductions and everything, because I've just had a bunch of stuff printed. I know Mike, who's on the show, who we'll introduce in a minute, has just posted about some printing and things that he's done and some stuff about his online store. So, but first, let's kind of go around and do the introductions. With us, as always, is Joshua Kemble. Hey, Josh, where can everyone find you?
Hi, you can find me at quarterlystories.com. You can also, if you want to just check out my stuff on a mobile app, go to tapas.io and look for it under Quarterly Stories, add it to your library. That helps. And then you can also find me lurking on Scott's channel doing Artcasters every other week. So, yeah.
And somebody else who's a frequent lurker is Mike Emeritz, who we've had on the show quite a few times. Hasn't been that long since we had you on before.
No, I was going to say, it was like maybe a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, well, I kind of saw some of the stuff you were posting and everything, and I'm like, oh yeah, I kind of want to talk about this. And I know moving forward, I mean, we're getting close to con season. We're not going to touch too much on conventions yet, but some of the stuff can kind of, you can apply it to selling in person as well as online. So I think going forward, probably for the next few weeks, I'm guessing, depending on who Josh wants to have on, and I know he's talked about having some people on to talk about Comic Cons, but I know that's something that's on my mind, as well as just, because I'm doing a lot of prints and stuff, getting stuff ready for comic conventions, which I will also sell, online. So like I said, I wanted to kind of talk about printing and just selling online and all that kind of stuff. So Mike, so not last time we had you on, a couple times back, we were talking, I think, about the fear of selling online was a topic.
Yeah.
Because you had just sort of pulled the trigger on your store, and you were kind of iffy, like, is this, am I ready for this type of thing? So I kind of want to get an update on that. But I also read on a post that you put on Facebook and on Instagram that you are officially now in the black as far as your online store.
Yeah, I guess that's the term, right? Like when you're out of debt. Yeah. And I wasn't like too far into debt, but yeah, like my little small business has officially paid for itself, at least. Like all the costs that I needed to get all of my materials and supplies and stuff are all paid up. So I didn't even know if that was going to happen or not, but it happened pretty quickly. So I'm really happy about that.
Cool. And the other thing you talked about before the show, and something, this is also an option for printing, which I don't do a lot of, but you had mentioned you just got a new printer. So are you going to be doing some of your own prints that you're selling at home, or?
Oh, yes. Yeah, this is it's sort of a little bit of a spoiler for my series that I'm doing, but for me personally, it's different for everybody. But for me personally, I found that the most cost-effective thing for me to do for the long term was to get a printer that I could use from home if I'm going to be doing like short runs of things. If I'm going to be doing like large quantities, then absolutely it's definitely more beneficial to go through, a number of different places for sure. But yeah, it was kind of a hard decision, but at the end of the day, it was also kind of an easy decision because I wanted a bigger printer. I wanted a larger flatbed scanner. I wanted a larger printer that could print 11x17 because I make my own boards and everything. So it's awesome. It saved me a lot of money on all fronts, But yeah, so I'm definitely gonna be doing some prints at home, and I'm like crazy about them. Like I'm like my biggest fan right now. I want to keep printing stuff, but I'm trying to wait to print stuff that only people want because I don't want to use up all my ink just yet.
Yeah.
The quality is so nice. Like the colors are super rich and crisp, and the resolution's ridiculously high. So I mean, I can really do some nice prints straight from home and the ink is archival and everything. So in a way, they're even better than some prints that I can get from a lot of different companies.
Yeah, because I had just got a question about my printer. I use Cat Print, which we can get into because
cool.
But somebody had asked if they were, because I did a video on them, and they would ask if they were archival, and so I emailed them, and unfortunately they're not. But that didn't worry me so much because I never really had too many people ask, like come to a show and ask if my prints are archival.
Right.
You know, the stuff I used to go to Costco and just get basically the photograph, the large photographs, and they were nice and everything, and they were archival. But I didn't like the colors. They cost a little more per print. I still use them in a pinch because I can get a 24-hour turnaround. So like if I'm at a show and I run out of something, I can go order some more and get them like the next day. So Costco is good for that. And we can also talk a little bit about sizes because typically people I think that are selling prints are selling like 11 by 17. I sell 12 by 18 just because that's the size Costco was selling. But so when I went to Cat Print, I could have scaled down to 11 by 17, but I decided to keep everything the same and go 12 by 18. Now here's the thing that I realized just now, because most of my prints have a white border around it, but I guess 12 by 18 must be the largest size you can do before you have to move up to the poster size on a different printer. And that price jump is just huge. There's like it's probably like a $10 to $15 price jump once you get past that 12 by 18. So yeah, it's just weird how that works. There's nothing like in between. So if I wanted to, and I wanted them to be all the same size, and so I wanted to do a full bleed on this one particular print. It was like a blueprint print, and I just thought that one would look better if it ran to the edge. And then I realized that I couldn't do a full bleed because that's as large as you can print. So
yeah, unless you did it 11 by 17, and then you could just turn it down.
And here's the thing. I mean, any of mine, because if you don't happen to like that border, if you like the 11 by 17 size, and if you don't happen to like the white border, it's basically that extra is what the white border is. So if you just cut that off of any of my prints or frame it so you don't see it, then you get 11 by 17. So
okay,
in some ways it's the best of both worlds if you're someone who wants to mess around with like cutting something down or whatever. So
yeah, and a little known fact, like if you ever purchase prints from My Society 6 shop, if there's anything you don't like on the image, you can just cut it off. Like the whole thing, you can just cut it up. You just do crafts with it.
There you go.
Yeah. But no, that is true about cat. But the quality of cat print though is amazing. Like yeah, I mean, like I watched your video on it, and then I think I asked you like 12 more times because I have a terrible memory. Like, what was the name of that printer again? And it's a pretty memorable name, but I just kept forgetting. But I did go through them, and like the cost was it was great because it wasn't as much of a risk to do like a run of 50 for an art show, because like if I sold, like 10, like I'd be able to pay for the cost of printing, which was cool. So like, and there's not a lot of printers out there that can do that quality of print for that cost. Like, in fact, I haven't found one. If anybody is listening and finds one that matches those prices for those 12 by 18 prints and that quality, like let us know. But yeah, so that was a really good resource. Thank you for that, Scott. Like that was super
and
cool.
I just placed a new order with them, and the first time I had some issues because I couldn't figure out how to get different numbers of each print, which is something cool that Cat Print does, because a lot of printers, it's like, here's your minimum order. But I think Cat Print, if you want, you can just get one. So I have a number of different prints, and depending on how they sell, it depends on how many I order. So the first time I just couldn't figure it out. So I just ordered the same of every print. But that was my first run. So I kind of stocked up. And now that some of them sold and everything, now that I placed the new order, this time it was relatively easy. And I don't know if it's just I was smarter about paying attention or if they changed something. But but yeah, it was fairly easy. One of the things that I did was I created like a PDF of like basically anyone that I needed 4 of, just to make it simpler, or 6
that's
of or 10
genius.
of. I put them all in the same PDF, and then that made it easier because I could just say, okay, I want 4 of this particular print, or I want 12 of this particular print, whatever. And I put those all in the same group, and then it just kind of runs it. It'll say you've got, in this particular PDF, you have 5 different prints, and you can say, I want 8 of all of these particular prints, you know. So that was pretty cool. And like I said, you can do custom sizes, which is cool. I have the ones that I've been doing that are the Phoenix Comic Con exclusive are like a 9x18, which is a really odd size. I did find some, I wanted something that was kind of tall, you know, but I didn't want to go poster size. So it had to be under 18 inches.
Now, do they charge more for custom sizes?
They don't charge more. I didn't really pay attention. It could have been similar to what you might pay if you were going to get the standard size. Like if you were going to get 12x18, it might be similar. I'm not sure. I think it was a little less, but I know it didn't cost more for those custom.
That's actually pretty impressive, because a lot of the time custom sizing, they're going to charge you just for the cutting fee, you know, because they don't carry those sizes. So that's cool. No, I'm going to have to mess with that.
Yeah, I've been super happy. The only issue I had was I had a coupon code because I did a video, and I guess they found it, so they gave me like a 20% off coupon, and it says, you know, on checkout, enter the code, and I went to check out. I didn't see the code. I was kind of bummed, so I just emailed the guy back that I got the coupon from, and he said, "Oh, no problem, I'll put it in." And next thing I know, I got another email, and there was 20% off. So.
Nice.
So yeah, they're super cool, and they're I would imagine they're pretty big now, because I know a lot of people that use them, especially for comics. And I don't even think comics is not comics, but like, you know, comic conventions and things. I don't even think that's really their bread and butter, because you go there on their site, it's mostly like wedding stuff and everything. So they don't really advertise. It doesn't seem like they're advertising to get that comic crowd, but I know a ton of people that are in comics and doing trade shows that use them. So yeah, I would highly recommend them. And like I said, compared to the prints, and I thought the prints at Costco were decent until I saw, the colors were just perfect from Cat Print. So
yeah, and like the thing that's neat too is the cost per print, as long as you're staying under that size, is like so low that, you know, you can afford to test like a ton of their paper qualities.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know, so when I ordered mine, I did like, you know, a print of that poster on like 10 different types of board just out of curiosity, you know, and was able to pick the one I liked. And literally that test maybe cost me $10, you know, whereas, you know, at most printers, like that wouldn't really be a luxury you could do. So that's cool, you know?
Yeah. And they also have a ton of different kinds of paper stocks, and just if you sign up with them, and I don't know if I think I've got a video on my site. There might be an affiliate link, but anyway, if you sign up with Cat Print, they'll just request a sample thing, and they'll send you a little sample of all their papers. So yeah, I mean, you can get, you know, thick, whatever. There's like a shimmer paper that looks really cool on certain prints. They have
that's a
foil
really
paper.
cool paper.
They have like a natural kind of like a what do they call it? Like a craft paper. They got all kinds of cool stuff. So Mike, I took a little preview. I'm waiting to kind of do the full unboxing on my video, but the poster for the Life in Space anthology, it looked like it was on, what kind of paper did you use? Did you go through Cat Print for that?
I did go through Cat Print, yeah. Okay. That was just on their regular cardstock. But
was it? Because it looked like it kind of had like a natural feel to it, like it had some kind of not a texture, but I don't know, just looked like it was.
That's actually I thought that was pretty interesting too. I don't know why it felt like that, but it does feel like there's some kind of like a coating or something to it. But no, that was just regular. I think I did a matte finish on just a normal, I think it was 70-pound cardstock or something around there.
I prefer the matte finish on
Yeah.
everything I do.
I did for the space cap print that I did. I used the shimmer paper though, and that was really cool.
Yeah.
It's so nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
A few of my prints, like if I want it to look sort of spacey, then I'll use that, and that's a really cool paper. But yeah. So yeah. So while we're on the subject, and I don't know if anyone else has anything to say about cat print, but.
Well, I'll just say the last thing I'll say is, like, outside of even my own business and my own illustration and stuff, like I actually use them for a really quick turnaround on like just a standard 8.5 by 11 sheet that we needed printed for my work, like on cardstock. And they were extremely professional. It was a much larger run than what I would have ordered, so it was like thousands as opposed to like 50, and they still, like, their prices were really hard to match. But like I got competing quotes and everything. So like they are like a legitimately really well-priced company for anything, like Scott was saying, anything under 12 by 18,
Yeah.
Even in large runs.
Their delivery time is they have a pretty good turnaround too.
So fast. Yeah. I gotta say too, from the customer service perspective, they're amazing. They actually they really screwed up my space cat prints at first, and without much hassle at all, they shipped a whole new order out to me, and they put a rush delivery on it, so it got here in like less than 3 days.
Wow.
Because I messaged them because I had just put out like the whole ad campaign for that print, and I was starting to get orders in, and like half of them had this weird like misprint on it. It wasn't like a huge deal, but I couldn't justify selling it as like a limited edition, signed and numbered, and like, this kind of event that I was trying to do for it. I couldn't justify someone paying a little bit extra and having it be misprinted. So I explained that to them, and I explained that I had just started this campaign and they were going on sale, and they're actually selling quicker than I thought that they would. And they completely understood, and we're like, no problem. We're printing it right now. We'll get them out to you as soon as possible. So that was awesome. So if you're like in a bind or something, like if you really needed some prints for like, the next day or something for a convention, they can do rush shipping, they can do rush printing, they can do all kinds of stuff there.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm thinking about maybe doing like all my printing through them. Because I've got postcards that I do. They're like 5 by 7 or whatever. And I had been going through overnight prints, and they're good, but they it's a typical thing where you have you got to order a certain amount, and they always have deals and stuff, so that's kind of good. But in the turnaround's not super quick, but it's not bad for overnight print. I mean, you could get them overnight if you want, but obviously they charge a lot more for that. But I don't know the kind of coating they have, because it's got like it's a matte finish, but it's kind of a smooth sort of matte finish. It's hard to explain, like a film almost, but not glossy. So I don't know if I should just have them print my new postcards printed through cat print, or because I want them to kind of match the other postcards. So I don't know, but I'm half tempted to just kind of have cat print do all my stuff. But yeah, so Mike, with you talking about printing stuff at home, I mean, that's something I've never really had great success with. It seems like no matter what I do, because I've always had issues with my printers and things like that, and the printer ink can get so expensive. I'm to the point. My printer that I have now, I was able to find. I was going to get the continuous the ink system or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
But then I found like an off-brand ink, and it's like, seriously, it's like I think my printer takes like 6 or 7 different cartridges, and I think for $12 I can get a set of ink, and they last longer, of course, than the actual ones that you would buy. But I'm not sure if they're as quality as the other ones, and usually I don't use that for anything I sell, but that might be part of my issue. I don't know, but so I don't know. I'm still I just never had much success printing from my home printer.
Yeah.
Getting the quality I want. So
I've been researching it for quite a while actually. It wasn't like I didn't it wasn't something that I came to like recently. I've actually been looking at printers for a few years now, and so when I decided to do it, it was kind of like I'd whittled it down to something that would kind of work for me, and that I saw had a decent reputation for doing pretty decent prints. And now the next step is kind of like what you said. I was looking into those continuous ink systems, but the one that I got, I didn't like it very much. It was a little bit too complicated. I had to like leave the printer open for it to work, and so I actually just exchanged it. The guy was really nice, and he actually recommended that I do these refillable cartridges instead, because I guess they clog less and there's just less issue. You just have to basically replace the ink like you would replace a cartridge. But I found a company that actually does a really, really close recipe to this ink that I'm using. So I'm gonna test it out. And if it works out, great. If it doesn't, then even with the ink cartridges, it's still more affordable to print small runs at home. It won't be as, big of a deal. It'll be more like it's closer to the cost that it would be to get it done from like a cat print or something, just minus the shipping, which is still saving a little money. It won't be as much of a savings for that type of thing. But at the same time, if I'm just printing like one copy, or I figured out that if I'm printing up to, and this is including the cost of paper, the cost of ink, shipping and all that stuff factored in, I would have to print like well over 100 of something for it to be cheaper for me to not print it at home now. And then I even looked into comics too. If I wanted to print like my own like really short runs, like maybe I just want to do like a 24-page ash can or something like that, I'd have to print over 250 comics for it to be cheaper to print with like Kablam or Comics Wellspring or some of those other places. So even for like a short small press type of thing, or like a little experimental book that I don't want to do like a huge Kickstarter for, maybe I just want to make an issue of it and be done with it, I could print those from home too. So we'll see. I'll give you my full report on that experience like after a year or so to see if it actually is has been worth the investment. So far, I would say for me, it's been amazing, because I've been getting some orders in and I could just print them and ship them, and I don't have to like do any kind of intense planning or anything like that. Like that was what was really holding me back before, was like deciding like, well, what should I print? How should I collect all this stuff together to get it printed? Because like you were talking about cat print, and I actually ran into a problem when I went to go and order my batch of Space Cat prints this last time. Not the poster, but the smaller 5x5s. I was going to order like a few of each of them, and they didn't allow me to do that anymore. I went to the page and I couldn't figure out how to actually import multiple files and set like a different quantity. Like, so maybe I want 4 of one and I want 5 of another. And how it used to work is that would all count towards the total. So I could get, for example, like 10 prints, and I can get 5 of each of them, and it would count it as 50 prints. So it would give me the price per print for 50 prints. Do you know what I'm saying? So like, because the price goes down the more that you get.
Right.
And they changed that recently. So now if you need 4 prints of something, you're going to pay the full cost of what 4 prints would be. You don't get to collect all of them together anymore.
Okay, yeah, I guess I didn't pay attention to that. I know that before and that might have been the change, because before I couldn't even figure out how to make different runs of each print.
Okay.
But this one, it was just basically the way they do it now is it's like you just put job 1 and you upload your prints. And like I said, if you put them together in a PDF, then it will print those as like almost like it's a book, but then if it's not a book, it's individual print.
Yeah, and that's genius, because that's actually a great workaround for their new system, because then you can just print, if you needed 3 prints of something, you can do 3 pages.
Right. So yeah, and actually the guy, their customer service guy told me about that, because the one issue I was having was that I had some prints up there from before, and when you upload new prints, it seemed like it would only let me upload 20 different prints, and I've got a lot of different prints. And as I uploaded a new one, the old ones would disappear. So I said, well, how do I stop this? And that's when he gave me the advice of just collect them in PDFs. So that kind of solved that problem, but it also helped me out as far as making it a little bit easier,
Yeah, that's awesome.
So.
So that was like one of the biggest roadblocks that I had, was stuff like that, because there's not many printers that'll do that anymore, like that allow you to split it up so much like that. Because for me, like, I don't know, the cost of doing that just wasn't worth it. And so I was trying to find some way that I could really like cut down the cost of doing all these prints, and then also have it like easily available, so now I can just make something, and if people like it enough that they want to print, like, then I can make a print. I don't have to like really think about it and try to figure it out and do a whole lot of extra mental work. It's just, if I make something and someone likes it enough, they can have it. Like the other day, actually, I sold 2 prints of this random drawing in my sketchbook that I had no intention of ever making any prints of. I'm gonna find it. Yeah, right here. This little Mickey Mouse on a raptor. It was a random sketch during a hangout one night, and like his foot's all cut off and stuff. But 2 people really wanted it, so it took me about like an hour to get it out of here and actually arrange it in a nice way on a 5x7. And I sold 2 prints in a day because I was able to just do that without like. And if my business right now was purely dependent on ordering prints, like, I would have had to have thought about that ahead of time. And when that person said, "Hey, can you do that?" I would have had to tell them no, and I wouldn't have made those 2 sales that day. So this has been really great.
Yeah, I think it all depends on, how many prints you're doing. There's definitely advantage to printing stuff at home. I think once you get to a certain point, a certain number of prints, it's probably better to send those out. And then that even has to do with like digital prints versus offset printing. If you're going to do a ton, then you might want to look into offset printing. And that's kind of definitely the same thing as comics. And that's something I want to get into, before we kind of talk a little more about actual stores and things like that. Because, I just want to kind of give people ideas, because you can't start a store unless you have prints. So, I mean, this is all part and parcel of the same thing. But I did want to talk a little bit about prints right up front, even though I don't think that's going to be the whole crux of the show. But so one thing we want to talk about, and this could get a little opinionated, but I want to talk about printing comics, because I just kind of switched comic book printers, and we're talking about print on demand comics, not offset printing, because I'm not at those levels yet. So I had been using probably the one everyone knows, Kablam. And I haven't had as bad of experience as Mike has had, but it just has never been easy. It seems like every time I go to use Kablam, and I've printed with them several times in the past, and every time it's like I have to start over again, like I've never done it before, because their process of setting up a print job is just the most user unfriendly thing I've ever used.
Oh God, it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
It's not even dated. It's just its own thing. It's from another universe where things don't make sense.
Yeah, and I can't even figure out how to. And even though there's buttons that tell you can do this on their site, they don't work. Like, I can't figure out how, if I want to print 3 different issues, how to add those to the same job. It's like I'll set up one, and then I'll go add another job, and then it just like doesn't do anything. I don't know. It's just like, it's always just a complete nightmare. It's the time frame that it takes to get books back from them is just, you never know. I mean, if you're lucky, you get them in 3 weeks. It could be, in 2 weeks, it could be, and I can understand comic book season and everything like that, but basically all the issues I've had, I switched over. I got I got the comic from Gasbot that the Hooray for issue 2 through his Kickstarter, and he went with a different company, Comics Wellspring, which I guess I think it's Greco Printing is a division of that, but it's Comics Wellspring. I think Comics with an X. And first of all, so I like the quality of the book and everything. One thing that I liked about it didn't have the glossy interior covers, which I don't like at all.
Yeah.
Now they offer that as a premium if you want that. If you like those glossy covers, you can get those. I'm not a fan. But that's the only option, at least unless Kablam has changed. But that's the only option Kablam had, just because it always looks like a color copy, which is basically the process they're using, you know. So anyway, so I went with Comics Wellspring. The job setup was just so easy. It was just like you just enter the stuff you enter, just like goes in there, and then after I did that, would you like to add another job, you know? And it's just
it sounds like a dream.
So much, it was just so much easier. And here's the thing, so I just went with a digital proof. And so I sent my job out, and the day after I sent the job out, there wasn't really anything, but a couple days later, I got my proofs back. So within a two-day time period, I think, since I sent artwork in, I got my proof back. I looked it over, looked great. Well, of course it's digital, so I mean, I could be taking a risk. But as far as everything, as far as where the bleeds were and everything looked good as far as the digital proof. So something that looks good when I get the finished comic, that's great. So once I did that, I think it was the next day, I already got a notice that they had been printed and they're being shipped out.
Oh, wow.
So within like I don't even think 5 days. I think it was like 4 days. Now, your mileage may vary. Maybe they weren't that busy at that time. I don't know, but that was just awesome. So, and not only that, but they have some kind of a points program. So they sent me an email saying I have so many points before, you know, the more you order, I guess you get my next point system, kind of like the movie theaters do, where you've got the card or whatever. And so I guess I get $15 off the next time I reach that. I haven't reached it yet, but at a certain point you will reach that. And they've got the same kind of incentive programs that Kablam does, where they've got T-shirts you can wear, and you know, you can save money by printing, you know, putting their ad in, which I don't usually run ads on mine. But still, even so, it was cheaper than Kablam too. Now, it may be like if you do like that glossy cover that Kablam does, not covers, but interior that Kablam does, that premium may bring it up to the Kablam price if you like that. Again, I don't like that, so it was cheaper for me.
Let's be fair. If you like glossy interior prints, you're either doing really rendered like crazy colors, or you have really crappy taste.
Sorry. I tend to think so, but you know. Yeah. But then again, I mean, most comic books are printed that way. So I guess a lot of people. That's why I'm kind of digging the newsprint stuff. Or even if you want a premium, I still think a nice matte stock looks really nice, even on premium paper and everything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, shiny paper is just like the death of print, in my opinion. It's just not a big winner for me. But yeah. But then again, like, you know, I rarely meet designers or illustrators who are big fans of gloss. Maybe a spot gloss. That's fine.
Oh yeah. But the spot gloss only is a spot gloss when you have it over a matte finish, you know. So.
Mm-hmm.
But so I guess the only and this wasn't a drawback to me, but the one plus that I can say that Kablam does is they don't have a minimum order. If you just want to order one comic, you can. The minimum order through Comics Wellspring is 25, which is fine for me because that's usually what pretty much the minimum order. That's the kind of the order I place at a time anyway. So yeah, other than that, but I'm just so glad that before I think there was another option, but they went out of business. So I didn't know that there were any other print on demand options. Now I know, Mike, you're doing a series on this. So as you get further on,
yes,
maybe Okay.
I
So
can
maybe you
tell
know
you,
some other ones too, but
yeah, there are so many, so many.
really?
I
Okay.
had no idea how many there were, and I keep finding more. And actually, there's been some that have started reaching out to me because word got out that I'm doing that series, reviewing them. And I'm telling you, there's so many great options. There's some companies that'll even send you complete comic books. I got here, I'll give you a little sneak peek of something that I thought was pretty cool. I think
Well, while you're doing that, when is the next video in that series coming out? Because I'm like waiting for it. I'm chomping at the bit.
very, very soon.
Okay.
Probably this weekend I'll actually get around
Oh,
to
good.
editing it. I just when I got to doing it, I felt like I could do it a little bit better. It was initially just going to be a really casual kind of run through, but after the response that I got, and especially when these printers started reaching out to me, I was like, well, let me go back through and redo this first episode and kind of polish it up a bit, because I'm actually going to have some the CEO of Kraken Print actually got in touch with me, so I'm going to do an interview with him on one of the episodes to talk about Kraken Print, and I'm trying to arrange a similar thing with Print Ninja and a couple of the other ones too. So I'll have like my non-biased, like no holds barred critique of what the experience is, you know, trying to find information, trying to order on the site and all that. But then I'll also try to get, you know, some perspective from the people that are actually, you know, either a part of the process or in charge of the process, to see what they have to say too. But
So is Print Ninja, they're offset printing though, right?
yes, they are. But their pricing is ridiculously reasonable.
No,
Like,
I've heard that. That's like when I finally finish my book and I want to do the trade, that might be an option. That might be something I
yeah.
would look at. So.
And they send you comics. They send you actual complete comics. And
Cool.
they have the little, like, the specs of exactly what
Oh,
you're
nice.
looking at. Which, I mean, there's a few places that sent comics, and every one that I've emailed, I actually requested that they send me comics, because, you know, you're printing a comic, you should be able to see what it's going to look like, you know. And they have all kinds of different options. And the rep that contacted me from Print Ninja has been really cool. He actually went out of his way to write me up like a little guide on how to get exactly what I was looking for, even if I didn't go through Print Ninja. I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the customer service thing, and that's just something that I've never got with Kablam. It's just a nightmare working with them.
Yeah.
So I mean, and I don't wish them. I hope with all this competition they step up their game and they, you know, maybe make some changes, because it's just, I mean, before when they were kind of the only game in town, they could kind of get away with some of that, but.
Oh, nah, they're not getting away with it anymore. I don't want to say that my video series is a vendetta, but I will say that I hope it brings to mind the amount of options that are truly out there, because just because you're indie doesn't mean you need to be treated like shit. And I feel like Kablam just, there's an insincerity about them. They take up to like 4 days sometimes to get back to you, and it's this canned response every time, like, oh, sorry it took so long. No, you're not. You're not that. You were ready to say that the day that you saw the email and decided not to answer it. Like,
and again, just keep in mind, I got my whole print, you know, I submitted it, got it okayed, and shipped out in 4 days. So
yeah,
printed.
Yeah. I mean, I don't I try not to make a habit of like bashing companies, but honestly, like, it was a nightmare. It was an absolute nightmare. And I knew that there had to be a better way after going through that. I mean, to this day, to give anyone listening a perspective on the lack of coordination and just the overall, just, I don't know, just the overall quality of Kablam. We finished our Kickstarter. Our books are printed. Our books are shipping. Josh actually already got his book. And on the website, it still hasn't updated that the book is even finished printing yet. And the price that it lists is still the original estimate that was given to us months ago. They still haven't even updated the estimate that has already been paid for. That changed several times over. I mean, the whole system is just, there's no communication, there's no coordination. It's insane. I don't understand how it can be like that.
Yeah, and I really thought that when I first heard about the thing through the Kickstarter where they would basically fulfill everything, I'm like, oh, that's brilliant, that's great. But it sounds like it's definitely not worth it.
Oh, that was the worst part. Let me, please, this is a public service announcement. If you're looking to do Kickstarter reward fulfillment, do not do it through Kablam. It was more work than it would have been to just do it myself, because at the end of the day, I had to do it all myself anyways. I sent them the whole list of all the backers like they said that they wanted, and I gave them a tally of like how many people were in the US and how many people were in different countries to try to make it easier, because we had, you know, different backers and whatnot. And he decided to try to calculate it on his own, and the numbers were way off. And so when he was trying to give me the estimate for all the shipping costs and stuff, it was like way more than what we budgeted for. And so I'm glad that I was so organized to be able to catch this stuff, because if I just let him go with what he was doing, who knows where the books would have even gone to. I mean, he thought we had like 15 books going out to Canada and we only had 6. He thought that we had 16 creators and there was 20. Like, these were really rudimentary things, like especially considering the spreadsheet I gave him it was an Excel spreadsheet. It had functions that counted for him. Like, the numbers were at the top. It said total. How do you look at total and get a different, like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm getting angry now. It was it was a nightmare. And if you're doing a Kickstarter, especially for the first time, I would not trust them. Like, I had to be on him. I was sending them emails almost every week. Probably more than once a week sometimes, just to make sure that I could get confirmation that the information was accurate, or that things that they said were being done were actually being done. And I'm still nervous. I'm very happy to hear that people are actually getting their books. I'm sure everyone has heard that they also got some extra books too.
Yeah, that was kind of funny. They must have shipped the wrong books.
It's funny, like it was like the day after I got that email, that book arrived, and I was like, "What the hell?" Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
it's a free comic, I guess,
Bloody Christmas or something.
Wow, that's just disorganized. But that's kind of sad too, because that kind of organization problem can't just be beneficial to them either, because like they just shipped a bunch of books to the wrong people.
Yeah,
you know, and like, who's paying for that? The company is going to have to eat that cost.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh man. So I have a question regarding I'm hearing slapback on my thing. Is anybody else?
Mm-mm.
Okay, well, so I have a question regarding the place that you ordered through, Scott. Do you mind kind of sharing like what the per issue cost is?
Yeah, so my book is black and white. I didn't go with any ads, so I could have saved. I think that usually I didn't even look at what I would say for the ads, just because I don't do ads, but a lot of people do, and usually the savings is pretty substantial, depending on if you do a back page or whatever. But so my book is black and white, color cover, and each issue was under $2. It was like, and again, we're talking print on demand, which, I mean, if you want, you can really bring those prices down if you go offset printing, but you have to order thousands. Yeah. So for print on demand, I think it was like, it was probably like, $1.95 or something like that. And again, you could save more money than that if you do the ad. I think Kablam, the last time I ordered, they must have been a price hike, because I think for me it was like $1.25 for this, for that same issue. So saying, number of pages also is a consideration. 24 pages. So that's pretty standard, Yeah. So for black and white color cover, 24 pages, I paid just under $2 an issue.
That's not bad at all. I've never really done the print on demand thing with a book, and so for me, it's all kind of new because like the time that I ran like Numb, like that big comic I had to self-publish, the print on demand existed, but the options were terrible and the pricing was pretty bad. And then aside from that, it was like the quality looked like a fiery print, you know, where it had that like raised black line.
Right.
Cool.
That may have been because even Kablam, I think, has improved since probably then.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
So at the time,
a lot
it
of
was
that stuff is just improved all across the board.
Yeah, but that's a much better price and than what I had last heard with that. So
yeah.
That's cool.
So we got a question from Comics Legend. Has anyone tried Amazon printing? I haven't tried it, but I got ordered books that were done with their what's their service called? Their print on demand.
Is it CreateSpace?
CreateSpace, yeah. I've got I think I got who did I get? The book from Sean Tiffany, a book from Holly Brown, all through CreateSpace, and they look great. Yeah, cool. Definitely. The only thing is if you're working with color, it's going to be pretty pricey because I mean basically I don't think they're really their bread and butter is not comics, it's prose. So and obviously those are going to be cover black and white if you're just reading text. So if you're doing a black and white book, especially if it's a larger book, like a graphic novel size book, if it's black and white, I mean, it sounds like Amazon CreateSpace is definitely a way to go because they will, they also drop ship. So you can have them order, they'll ship it out, and, you can order your own and they're cheap enough where you could order through them and sell them yourself. So Amazon CreateSpace, I haven't used them just because I'm doing single. I don't know how single issues would work, but I think if they can get it to the point where they can do reasonable full color, then that's definitely an option. But definitely if you're going to go black and white, and especially if you're doing a bigger book, because I would love, I was thinking I wanted to do my art books. I want to do an art book eventually and do it through CreateSpace, but I really wanted to do that full color. So, and that gets kind of pricey. So, but that's
and CreateSpace is something that I'm probably going to use for this book that I'm working on once it's done. But the only thing that kind of bums me out about it is that the cost, like I haven't really looked into the full estimate. This is just a little estimate calculator, on the page. But what I've looked at, it looks like I'd have to probably retail it at about $20 to kind of have it actually turn a profit. And so that's the only downside is like I'd have to basically make the retail cost like $20 to where it's like I'm barely turning a profit for the stuff that would be, distributed to like bookstores and stuff like that. But but in general, like it does look like a really good option. And for print on demand for a book of that size, it's like I haven't really seen anything match it. But you're right, when it comes to color, it's not there. Right. With full color, it's not at all there. But the cool thing too is like you can do large sizes, and since my book is probably going to be 8x10 or 8.5x11, it's like it's a good option, a good quality. But the other downside that you get with like offset that you don't get with print on demand is, you don't really get any special processes. So that to me kind of bums me out a little bit because I really like foils and spot glosses and stuff.
I'd love to find a place that prints on newsprint now that I'm getting the alternate comics. If they could, bring the price down like alternative selling their comics for, because I mean I feel bad trying to sell a newsprint comic for like a lot, close to the same as I sell other things for. But yeah, I think that's definitely got to be definitely got to be offset printing if you're going to go that newsprint route. So we had a question from Monochrome Moose asking about if we heard Kablam. Yeah, we just got done talking about that. We didn't have very nice things to say about Kablam. I would try Comics Wellspring, And just, you might want to watch the replay if you're curious, because we haven't had a very good experience with Kablam. So
unless you hate yourself, if you hate yourself and enjoy stress,
then yeah. So yeah, I don't know. We kind of covered quite a bit on printing. Do we want to talk a little bit more about places to sell your stuff online, so I know I have a store in site, I have an Etsy site. What about you guys? Mike?
Mike, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just, no one was talking, so I figured I'd make a judgment call, but go ahead, Josh.
Go ahead.
So like I have a Society 6 shop, and that, I like because I think it's a mix. I'm not sure what everybody's experience is. I know that the quality of their stuff is really good. Like you can get like a mug from Society 6, and it just they're one of the first companies to really up the game of like on-demand just products. And so because of the fact that I was kind of on board when they had just started, and initially it was like the guy who had started it, I guess the guy who founded it was a Threadless dude, like a big fan of Threadless, and I think designed on Threadless and stuff. And so they put out requests to have all the alumni of Threadless like join this Society 6 thing. And at the time it was like invite only. And so I joined then, and because of that, like I have a fairly decent following on Society 6, which helps the prints sell. And so like that's been really beneficial. But then I've had friends who've done Society 6 and had like no sales whatsoever. And I think it's just one of those things of like kind of right place, right time with that. But their quality is really good. And like to me, I'm a big fan of that kind of print on demand experience, because I didn't get into art to be in shipping and fulfillment. And to me, like I want my time to be spent making art. And I know that's like, part of running a business is like your time isn't always going to be spent doing the thing you want to do. There's a lot more to it. But to me, if I can cut out that time and still make a passive income from sales, that's far worth it. So for me, that's been really beneficial, and that's a source of passive income. And they run the prints and they send them out. And if there are complaints about the prints, they deal with them. So it's like I don't have to handle that end of it. The only thing that stinks about it is that it's much less personal. So I don't often get to like send a thank you or something to people who've ordered, because the orders just kind of come in. And and so it depersonalizes it a little bit. And so even if I'll make far more sales on that than I would if I were to just put something on my website, but it doesn't feel as awesome as like if I were to like throw something up on my website and somebody ordered it direct, and I got to like package it and see who the person was and stuff.
Right. Yeah, I wanted to make the distinction between like print on demand drop shipping, like basically like Society 6 or Redbubble or T-Fury, or, well, not T-Fury necessarily, but T-Public, Threadless artist shops. Those type of places are very different from if you were setting up like a Store NV or a Shopify or something where you're shipping out yourself. Now, obviously, for the reasons that Josh said, that he likes those particular ones. And also, I want to go back to what Josh said about certain people don't have luck with Society 6. And I get questions because I use almost all of these. The only one I haven't dipped into is Threadless artist shops, because it's fairly new. And that's different from the regular Threadless. This is where you can do your own. Corey's in the chat. I think he's used them before. But anyway, and I can't really recommend one over another, because I don't think one is any better than any of the other ones. It just whatever works for you. Sometimes you will connect with somebody on a certain platform. For me, T-Public is the biggest one for me. That's the one that I get the biggest results from. even though I'm in all of them. But that your mileage may vary. I mean, just because I have luck on TeePublic doesn't mean somebody else won't have better luck on Society 6 or on Redbubble or something like that. So, and I don't know, and there's really no, to my knowledge, at least that I can detect, there's no rhyme or reason. It just, for whatever reason, I hit a chord with somebody or something may have went sort of semi-viral on TeePublic, and that's why I sell more there. So I would recommend, if you have the time, I mean, once you set up the files, most of them are pretty much universal. They use the same sort of file format. It's all transparent PNGs and everything for the most part, especially if they're doing t-shirts, because it's not just prints. I know Josh I don't sell prints on any of those, because one of the drawbacks, another drawback to the print on demand drop shipping is that you get a very small percentage. If you're printing them yourself, I mean, you can set your own price, and you can make whatever margins you see fit. So
to throw onto that, like, just so people are aware of kind of the differences. Like, I sell probably, like, I would say, like, I'd estimate I sell at a minimum, like on a bad month, I sell like about 200 products.
Wow, that's good. Yeah.
That's a minimum of what, if I like collect all my stores and just kind of calculated how much I sold, like on a bad month, it's about 100 to 200 products. Most of the time 200 on a slow month.
Yeah.
But what I see from that
went really super popular and went viral and things like that. I mean,
yeah, and a lot of those aren't. And a lot of those aren't selling because somebody's like, like coming to it because they're like, oh, I like Joshua Kemble. They're just like, oh, I like this Captain Obvious design, or something like that. That's already a design that's done well. But the catch is, what I get for that, if you sold like 10 to 20 prints, you could make pretty much what I make for selling 200 products. And that's different products. Products like, some of them are like a shower curtain that somebody spent like, $50 on or something, and yet, like, what I'm going to see compared to what you would see if you sold through like Store Envy, your own like 8.5 by 11 print, honestly, you probably would make more from that one sale than I would from like 30 sales, And so that's kind of like, I just wanted to kind of say, like, it is actually a pretty significant difference if you don't mind doing the shipping yourself. It's a pretty significant difference in what you come home with. So it's like that spend money to make money thing.
Yeah, a couple things in the chat. So Samurai Ox says that he doesn't mind shipping things out, and I'm kind of the same way. I really do like the drop shipping. Because like Josh says, it is passive income. I don't have to do anything, and every month I get these little royalty checks. So yeah, I do like it. But what I'm trying to do with Circleworks Art Labs is I want to create like a customer experience. Yeah. I'm really big. I'm a big admirer of like Johnny Cupcakes, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with Johnny Cupcakes, but just the way they package everything, and and the personalization and all that kind of stuff that they do. That's what I want to do. Now, most of my products that are in my store are like that, except for my T-shirts, because I just right now, and my T-shirts haven't taken. I barely sell any T-shirts right now. And that could just because I haven't advertised them enough or whatever, but those are through Printful, which is similar to, it's a drop shipping service, but you can set your own price. And also I got a Comics Legend mentioned that you can set your own price on threadless shops, which is cool. But you can integrate that into your Store Envy, or pretty much anything, your Etsy, whatever kind of, or Shopify or whatever. So when somebody orders through your Shopify or Store Envy site, it will automatically ship out those T-shirts. So just because I can't afford to make, get a bunch of printed T-shirts in all these different sizes that I don't even know I'll sell, that's the way I'm doing them now. But I feel bad because when they get them, like Josh said, I can't really personalize them. So if I can get to the point where I'm selling enough T-shirts, then I may invest in like one of the T-shirt, like basically the same thing that they're using to print their T-shirts. Actually, my brother has one that he acquired that he needs. Somebody gave it to him for something, and he doesn't use it, but I think it needs some work. So I don't know, but right now I don't want to mess around with it because I just don't sell enough T-shirts. But if that happens, maybe I can get that from him and pay to have it fixed and all this stuff. But I really would love to just do really cool packaging with the T-shirts and all that kind of stuff. So there's definitely pros and cons to both routes. And like the old pop culture stuff that I did, the parodies and things, those I'll probably just continue just to sell them, and I don't advertise those, or those aren't really part of Circworks or anything. And that's kind of what I make most of the money from T-shirts.
Yeah.
Online through the drop shipping thing. So those I don't care as much about because they're not Circworks, they're not branded as my own company or anything like that. So I will continue to kind of have those out there and get royalties off of those. But the ones that are a little more, that have the mad science theme and all that stuff to it, assuming that they start to sell, then I really want to get to a point where I can send those out to myself, just because I want to create that customer experience. I want people, when they order from me, just to have this really cool unboxing experience and throw in extras and things like that. So, but it just depends kind of what you want to do. I could totally see why people just don't want to bother with that. For me, that's fun. I like doing that kind of stuff. So
yeah, and I think that's kind of the give and take of it. I don't know, Mike, have you messed with those fulfillment things at all, or what? I forget the terminology that Scott was using for it. What were you call drop shipping? There we go.
Yeah.
No, no, not yet. I've considered it, but I'm kind of in the same sort of thought process as Scott about wanting to personalize the experience, and actually gone to great lengths recently to like do my own envelopes, and I've got little thank you notes that I put out, and on the backs of the thank you notes I've actually been making these little like comic strips. And so anytime anybody orders from me, they get a new page of that comic strip. I'm not releasing it anywhere else online except Patreon. But yeah, so I really I love the idea of the customer experience, and so I'm a little hesitant to do anything that I don't have like total control over. But if they did, is drop shipping the same as blind shipping? Is that the same thing?
I'm not sure if it is. I've heard the term blind shipping, and at one time I researched to find out what it meant, but it might be something different. I don't know. I'd have to look it up.
It's like,
if anyone in the chat knows what blind shipping is, let us know.
Well, blind shipping is where you pretty much like you send them any kind of material that you want included in the package, like any kind of branding material or a special packing slip or something. So you could at least have that kind of control where they'll.
So I don't know that they aren't the same thing, but like I know Printful offers that as a service. But it can get kind of pricey. If you're selling a lot, then you can do that. And that might be an option for me too, because I kind of forgot about that. But you have to pay for them to store whatever you send them. You have to pay additional for them to insert that stuff. So it can add especially if you're not selling a whole lot. Now, like I said, I'm not selling a whole lot of my own T-shirts. So I don't have a lot of Printful orders right now. But if I got to the point, that could be an option. And also, it is sort of limited. I think you can give them like postcards and things. I think once you get into different things, they might not do that, or it might get expensive for them to store it. So yeah, but that's an option. I definitely don't think that's an option through most of the like Society Sixes and Redbubbles and TeePublics and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you tailor your work to a different platform, that could kind of work. Like anything that's Space Cat related or related to any of my comics for that matter, I would probably want to do that more in a scenario where I had more control, where I could send a special envelope or include a sketch or something like that, or whatever the case is. But for like my fan art stuff, or maybe stuff that's just more like general purpose art, I guess, or like designs that would be cool on T-shirts and stuff, but that isn't like connected so so intimately with, like, I guess you would say, like, my brand or my characters and stuff. I could see doing something like that. But yeah, anything that has to do with Space Cat or any of my comics, I don't think I could. I'd have to look into some other ways, like maybe order a bunch of stuff and just ship it from home. But I don't like messing with all the shipping either. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So Teresa in the chat asked about Etsy. So I think I have an Etsy store too. Well, but I guess we'll just, because we were kind of moving towards what kind of platforms we use. So I'll find out kind of what you guys use, and then I'll tell you. I'll kind of get into Etsy for me and everything. But so I think, Josh, you basically everything you do is pretty much print on demand, right?
Yeah, I mean it's mostly like, so there's Society 6.
Not print on demand, dropship. Sorry.
Yeah, there's Society 6, and then there's basically Threadless, and those are my kind of two main hubs for that. And then, like, I have used Etsy in the past, and this was a couple years ago when I was doing Big Illustration Party Time. But for the Mini Comics Dump Truck, I did a mini comic that I did a run of like 100, and that was it. And I just didn't want to reprint it or anything else. And it was like a full color little stapled one that I printed and assembled and polybagged and stuff. And I sold those on Etsy. And that was like kind of an experiment with just using Etsy, which was actually a really cool experience. But I just didn't really keep up with Etsy because, like I said, I'm really hesitant about getting too into shipping. However, I'm 100% on board with the fact that it is much cooler to be able to provide that for the consumer, like a personalization. And also it helps you connect more with your audience if you're aware of like what your people are actually buying, you know? Mm-hmm. So yeah, but those are kind of the platforms that I use online. And then I'm really curious about CreateSpace because, like, once again, I wonder if that'll depersonalize it. If like on my website, it's like, hey, order my book through Amazon, you know? Right. But I kind of like the idea of that because it'll give you more of a chance to gain readership through Amazon. You know, like the more people order, the more it ups the rankings, you know? So I don't know. It's one of those things like I constantly am in flux about. I don't know. What about, you know?
With CreateSpace, I mean, again, you can get something, and I haven't used them, but I just know people who have. You can get them cheap enough that you can order them yourself, and then if you want to ship them out, you know, on your own store and mark them up, you can do that as well. But so aside from kind of the drop shipping, print on demand type sites and everything, so I use Store Envy and I use Etsy. What do you use, Mike?
I use Store Envy and just word of mouth. It seems to be most effective for me. Like, honestly, just getting messages on Instagram or Facebook, I've made some sales too.
And so when you get those sales, do you direct them to your Store Envy? Or you just...
No, in those cases, I'll actually send them a PayPal invoice.
Okay, that's cool.
It works out to be about the same. I think I started doing that actually because Store Envy enforced this new, I think it's like 25 cents or something. It's like a 25-cent fee that they charge the customers now, and I couldn't figure out a good way to like build that into my cost where it wouldn't look weird. You know, like knocking 25 cents off of the price or something. But so yeah, so you could save 25 cents if you just do it directly through me. But I like Store Envy because it has the marketplace, so I can maybe get some customers that you know, come from there. I haven't yet, but
yeah, I don't think I've ever got anything through.
Yeah.
All my stuff is like, you know, there are people that I recognize that follow me on YouTube and things like that order kind of through my Store Envy, most of them.
So
yeah, I don't think.
So I have a question about Store Envy because I've never used anything like that. And when I was selling things direct from my site, it's back when you just kind of have an active PayPal link, you know, on your site. This is very long ago. But like, so how does it work? Like in the sense of setting it up, you can code it to kind of match your site, or how does that work? And then how do you know when you've got a sale? How do you like state your inventory? You know, I don't know. I'm kind of curious about it.
That might get a little detailed, but so
maybe too much.
First of all, let me kind of talk about, because there's different routes to go, and one of the reasons I think I went with Store Envy is because at the time it didn't cost anything unless somebody ordered through their marketplace, and then they would take a cut from there. I guess they've changed it, like I said, right now, where they take 25 cents or whatever. It's still, I think, your best entry level way to go. My first store was through Big Cartel. I don't know, I haven't used them lately, but at the time you could only, unless you paid for their service, you could only have like 5 products, and I've got way more than 5 products. So that was kind of out the window. Shopify, there's like a monthly fee, I think. A lot of people swear by Shopify. And I'll kind of talk about, I'm going to go a different route, which I'm thinking of starting a Squarespace site. And I know they have e-commerce built in. Now there is some additional money to that, but I really kind of want to up my website game and my online store game. But for entry level purposes, I think your best bets are Store Envy and probably Etsy too. Now Etsy does charge you to list your items and things, and I'll talk about Etsy in a minute. But in answer to kind of Josh's question, so all these sites, they do take a little bit of time to set up. So and it's been so long since I set mine up, I don't know if I can actually answer all of Josh's questions. But as far as how do you know when you get a sale, I always get like an email. It's hooked up to my email, so it's like you have a sale on, Store Envy or whatever. But you've got most of these sites, you upload your photos, upload your descriptions, set your price, and there's different. Again, the best thing to do is probably watch a video on it, and they can kind of take you through it. But I might even have a video where I went through the whole thing. I've got one that's I think it's how to crush your online store. And I think I may have went step by step through how to do it. So if I remember correctly, but anyway, so that video is on my site, on my YouTube channel. It's how to crush your online store. If you go through my things, and it's all, I think I did kind of go through how to set up an Store Envy store, I believe. But you can set different variants as far as like if you've got different sizes and things like that. At one point you had to have Stripe and not PayPal, but I think they take both now. Well, you said I should probably refer to you, Mike, because you've probably set it up more recently than I have.
Yeah, they have a bunch of different options now, actually, and all kinds of plugins that I haven't even used yet. It's really pretty user-friendly. The main page that they give you is all HTML and CSS. So as long as you are at least a little familiar with HTML and CSS, you can probably code it to look like your own website. I've seen some people do some really advanced stuff. I didn't really want to get that lost in the coding, so I just kind of went with just some basics. But yeah, you can get pretty crazy. I've seen people design Store Envy pages that are actually like websites. They actually run and function like a website with a blog and everything. So you could get pretty intense. But then there's all kinds of different plugins too, which I think is neat. So you can plug in different like other services. You can plug in like UPS, or you can plug in, I think they have something for, I don't know if it was Redbubble or what, but it might have been Printful actually. But there's a couple different companies that you can like link to your Store Envy so that you can offer different products like through something like I can't remember what it was called, but like a print on demand for T-shirts and mugs and stuff. So you can.
That's what I use for that.
Yeah.
And it's integrated into both my Etsy store and my Store Envy store. And yeah, and you can pretty much link to most of the major kind of e-commerce platforms through Printful if you want to sell T-shirts or socks or all the different stuff that they sell.
Yeah, so that's pretty convenient. And then, like Scott said, they'll send you an email, and which I love because I've got my phone. and I have email notifications on my phone. So if I get a sale, I'll hear about it, wherever I'm at. So in some cases, I can kind of go to the Store Envy website so that I could at least get some things going with it, like make a little note to myself or send a message to the person if I need to ask them, about something or whatever. So it's pretty cool. I like it so far. Most of my sales have come through Store Envy, like from, running an ad or something and then having people find it. But I think I've gotten a few people actually that like must have just found the store through like me talking about spacecatcomics.com or whatever, because there's a few names that popped up that I'd never seen before. So I wondered if that came from like Instagram or whatever. But anyways, Store Envy has their own kind of advertising and stuff too that you can use as well. They started integrating this thing that's kind of like MailChimp. So you can do like email lists. So when you're having sales, you can just send emails out to your customers, which I like. It keeps track of all of your orders that have ever been, so you can always like have a customer database to refer back to, which is pretty neat. But my favorite thing by far is how it syncs up to PayPal, because you'll make a sale and then it will automatically transfer the funds to PayPal, and then PayPal will automatically make a shipping label for you. So you could just go right over to PayPal, go to the multi-shipping tool or whatever it is, and then the customer's address, what they ordered, everything is right there. You just have to determine, the weight of the package and what kind of service you're going to ship it with, which is amazing. So you don't there's so much less work to do. I just get a sale, I check Store Envy to see what it was, go to PayPal, pay for the receipt, print it, done. It's pretty simple.
Nice.
Yeah, the thing that surprises me about Store Envy is I don't know that it just seems like people don't talk about it as much as as people talk about like Shopify and things like that. Because I was trying to research, information on that, and like on YouTube, there's not a lot of information. In fact, if you do a search on selling your art on Store Envy, I think my video might be one of the first ones that comes up.
Yeah.
Because there's not a lot, and I just can't figure out why, because it's just, especially like I said, is an entry level thing, because it doesn't really, you can set up a store for free. And and at one point, they didn't even charge you anything, even if you sold something, unless it was through their marketplace. Now, maybe it's 25 cents or whatever, but that's, if you're selling stuff, then that shouldn't be an issue. But there's no monthly fee or anything, so I just don't see why it's not talked about as much. But,
yeah, I found that pretty difficult too, actually, when I was starting up, like to get some kind of help or guides or anything on how to set it up. You're really restricted to I noticed that a lot of the information is on like Blogspot blogs, like stuff like that. Not a whole lot of videos to help you out.
Well, again, now that, because I had researched that, so if you do want to find that video that I put out, like I said, if you just put in selling art on Store Envy, I think my video should pop up there. That's probably easier than going through all my all my videos. But I do, okay, so I wanted to get back to Etsy. So Etsy, I mean, I think I may sell more on Etsy than Store Envy. I don't know. The good thing about, I know Store Envy, the only traffic that I get to Store Envy is what I send there myself. Yeah. Whereas Etsy, people find me that I have no idea who they are, just through, and I haven't even done a lot of like advertising, and there's different ways to do that on Etsy, and that's something that I really do want to do, because I think if I really concentrate on that and put a little investment into getting my stuff out there, I think I could really grow my store a lot more. But just without even doing that, and it does take a little while, and obviously it depends on what you're selling and everything. And certain things sell better on Etsy. Like I sell, my bow ties sell pretty well on Etsy because it's more that kind of crowd. But I sell prints and things on there, and I sell a variety of things. But I like Etsy a lot. I love especially, it's probably a couple years now, or 1 or 2 years since they kind of added a new like interface, I guess. But now it's like super big. Like you're before it was just a little tiny banner, and it just didn't look really. It didn't look great when you went there to a store. But now you can put this great big banner. You can upload like videos, which a lot of the stuff people don't even do. And I don't know how many people actually look at the video, but for me, if I try to, when I'm setting up a shop, I try to take advantage of every single thing that I can. So if it allows me to put a video, I'm going to put a video up. If it allows me to put 5 different shots of each of my products, I'm going to put 5 different shots. Because all those, it's all SEO. So the more things you put out there, the more people can find the stuff that you're selling. So, but it does take time. It takes a lot of time to do all that stuff. But if you've got 30 products, once you get all that's a lot of work to do all the stuff for all those 30 products. But once you're done with that, then as you add a product here or there, it's not as much work. So just a little, or a lot of investment up front as far as time. But if you can, set all that stuff up. But I really do like Etsy because there are drawbacks because, for instance, when somebody orders something from your Etsy store, if somebody sees something that they purchased from you, like a friend or something, and they say, "Where do you get that?" They're not going to say, "Oh, I got that from Circleworks Art Labs." They're going to say, "Oh, I got it off Etsy." Mm-hmm. So it's not so much. I mean, it's more Etsy is the brand, and I mean, if some people are really into it, like people can like your shop and things like that. Maybe some people are really into your shop and they might say which the particular shop is and things like that. But it is kind of branded more or less as Etsy. But you do find new customers and stuff through there. And there's a lot of, there's just a lot of good tools and things they have as far as, advertising to customers. And, there's a whole, I mean, and they're the opposite of store envy. There's tons of stuff on Etsy as far as how to run an Etsy shop. So if you do that, but Etsy just has some cool stuff. Like one of the things I really like about Etsy is they also send email notifications out. But if you sell something on Etsy, you get this little text or something. It's like if you set it up for alerts where it's a cash register. So it's like cha-ching. It's like, oh, cool. I just made some money. Unfortunately, I usually have, because when I'm at my day job, I always have my phone off, so I never hear the cha-ching. But when the volume is up on my phone, it's kind of cool to hear that.
That's awesome.
And if you're selling a lot, it could be like cha-ching, cha-ching. I haven't got to that point yet, but yeah, no, I like Etsy a lot. So yeah, those are the 2 platforms, kind of that I use. I'm just going to go through the chat. If you guys have anything you want to chime in about while I look through here.
Well, I mean, I would say, I think at least like, for people who haven't sold stuff on these sites, like it's definitely something to consider, like what your aims are, because, depending on what your goal is, like different services are going to service different needs,
Yeah, that's true.
So there's a comment in the chat from Laura who says, and I didn't realize this about Store Envy, so this is a little disappointing and something I didn't know. But I guess even the buyers get charged an extra fee. Did you know about that, Mike?
Yeah, that's where the 25 cents is coming from. They're not charging the sellers; they're charging the buyers.
Why would they do that?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they just charge this? I mean, that should be the seller's responsibility. That's weird. Okay,
a customer fee? That's interesting.
I wonder if there's a way like what you said, where if you put your price, if you could set the price for what they're buying, and they see the price that's 25 cents more, but when it's billed to them, it's 25 cents less, so they don't see that. I wonder if there's a way.
There's a lot of people complaining when they implemented it, and I agree that it should at least be an option. Like we should be able to toggle that, like if the customer pays it or if we pay it, because I would rather lose 25 cents on a transaction than lose a customer because they hate fees. It's not a lot, but
any sense. I've never heard of that with anything where it's the person buying its responsibility.
Yeah.
I guess. Well, I don't know. I guess maybe is PayPal like that? Who gets the fee
No,
of the PayPal?
I have yet to see a PayPal fee. I hear about them, but I haven't had one yet, so
Right.
I don't know.
They haven't taken a fee from you when
Yeah,
they're, huh? That's interesting.
yeah.
They usually take like they shave off like a very small percentage of whatever's paid to you usually.
Huh. Maybe it's so small I'm not even noticing it.
Yeah, it's a
Well,
pretty
yeah,
microscopic amount, but it adds up
Yeah.
when it's yeah.
yeah, that kind of sucks. Now I'm disappointed, but like I said, moving forward, what I really want to do is I want to switch over from. And Corey is in the chat, and he mentioned that he did this, but he switched over from WordPress to what was it? Squarespace.
Hmm.
And again, there are fees, so that might not be your first way to go, but there are like monthly fees, and there's additional fees if you want e-commerce. But I think I'm at the point where that's kind of, because I want everything to be all totally self-contained as my site. I want the store to look exactly like part of my site and all that stuff. And now, if you're comparing WordPress to StoreNV, a lot of people would recommend WordPress, but I think somebody who's like me, who isn't a coder, doesn't know how to code or anything like that, I just think I want to switch over to StoreNV, not StoreNV, all these different platforms.
I forgot it
They
now
all
too.
start with S too. That's the problem. They all start with S. StoreNV, Shopify, Squarespace. So yeah, Squarespace. But yeah, I do kind of want to. Eventually, I'm going to do a whole redesign. Or I really have some really cool ideas for launching a new website soon and having. In the beginning, I don't think I will have. I think in the beginning, my store will just kind of link to my StoreNV. But eventually, I want to start building that e-commerce site that's all built into one. So, but anyway, that's kind of where we are. So what is Corey saying? PayPal seems to take transaction fees off of business transactions.
That makes a little more sense because I think that the majority of the times I've really noticed the PayPal fees are when I get like a down payment on an illustration or something,
Right.
So it's like, I think like for like a micro transaction or like like a single purchase, I don't know if that's going to have as much of an effect. As like like when somebody
that's true too. I do notice that because I've noticed that too. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense then.
Yeah.
Still worth it. I mean, it's significant, so I think it's like I don't know, if somebody gives you like $100 or something, it'll take like 5. It's significant enough to notice, but it's so convenient. And like I said, that's usually how I take payment when I work. So it's just preferable because it's like, the check's cleared,
Yeah. It's got protection both ways too, for you and for the customer. So it helps to build like that trust too, that
for sure,
if something did go wrong, the customer can get their money back, or you could, or whatever the case.
Totally.
All right. So we're kind of past the time we usually go. I might want to go just a little long because there was another thing I don't know how long this is going to go, but I also wanted to touch on another option for people, because basically all we've been talking about so far is like physical goods, but there's also digital products. And I sell stuff through Creative Market, which is a little different, I think, than a lot of our audience are more like probably more in like the kind of a comic creation thing, which is a little different. If you're more of a designer or sort of an illustrator that's kind of in that design space, I think Creative Market is kind of a great way to go. But it's an entirely different way to sell things, because the way it's not usually like one item. It's like a pack of items that are tools that other people can use to create things, like either fonts or I guess you would just have to kind of go to Creative Market. But the other one I wanted to talk about that I haven't used yet, but I've purchased things through places that use them, and that's Gumroad. So have you guys ever used Gumroad to do any selling digital products?
I haven't yet, but I'm going to. I want to put out a brush pack that I made a few years back, actually, just as like a passive income type of thing too,
Right.
you know, because I hear a lot of people have some pretty good success selling stuff like that on Gumroad.
Yeah, and also Creative Market, they're big with brush packs and stuff too. So.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, so I mean, I just purchased a course from Dan Ekus, who we've had on the show before. He's got like
nice.
how to build your Instagram. So I'm on his newsletter, so I got like a discount. So I purchased that. I think it's like a pre-order. But I guess he just got into that. According to his newsletter, he said that somebody, it might have been, I don't know, it might have been Jason Brubaker who kind of told him about it. But I know Jason Brubaker uses that, you know, and so that's something I probably have like a Gumroad account that I set up just so I could have my name, but I haven't used it yet. But that's definitely, I definitely want to not only sell my digital products on places like Creative Market or Design Cuts and things like that, but I want to have the ability to also sell those through my own, you know, website and everything. So yeah, because I want to start doing a whole line of like comic book type products, whether it's comic book fonts or brushes or backgrounds or whatever. So that's something that could, because I mean, it's going to be a while before I start building up all those products, but eventually, because I mean, a lot of my audience are people, at least on YouTube, are people that are into grading comics and things. So, so yeah, the digital products is another thing I want to look into.
Yeah, for me, actually,
we get a lot of comments. You know, Corey Kerr just says Gumroad with a you know exclamation point. I don't know if you said that before I mentioned it or not, but yeah. So a lot of people are saying Gumroad. Oh, and also digital comics. If you are selling comics, you could sell your digital comics through there as well. So.
Yeah, so I have a question about that, about digital comics actually. So you guys have you made ebooks? I mean, I'm imagining you have.
I have that it was a reward tier for my Kickstarter.
Yeah.
I haven't really sold any, which is, and they're not because there's anything wrong with it. I probably should be selling my digital versions of my comics. Something I haven't got around to. So.
Yeah, same here. I only did it for the Life in Space Kickstarter.
So when you did it, how did you make it? Did you use a program or did you just do a PDF? I'm just curious because I've never actually
just did a combine, you know, PDF like in Acrobat or whatever. You can do a combined PDF, and it just allows you to select whatever pages you want, and then it combines them all, and it exports it, and then you've got one. That's how I did it anyway.
I did mine in. Sorry, go ahead.
I was done.
I did mine in Photoshop, similar thing. But I also offered a CBR version, which is actually a pretty popular format. It's for comic book reader software, and it's so easy to make. All you got to do is you get JPEGs of all your files, you combine them into an archive, so like a RAR file or a zip file, and you just change the extension. If it's a zip file, you change it to .cbz. If it's a RAR file, you change it to .cbr, and then any comic book reader can read it. And I prefer to, if I'm going to read digital comics at all, I prefer to read them on a reader because they'll have like page turn animation, and they'll even put a little shadow in the crease where the pages are.
That's awesome. I didn't know that. That's. I mean, that's probably like I think that might be the gem, at least for me, probably the gem of this whole show, because that's something I didn't know about.
Nice. So, yeah. There you go.
Yeah, and I mean, I would, because that's the thing, because I mean, I just created PDFs, but it's seriously just a matter of changing the extension.
Yeah, that's it.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Well, I mean, that's definitely an incentive for me to get my digital comics and everything formatted like that. That's cool.
So
now, if you don't have, so do you need a special reader for that then? Or, I mean, how does that?
Yeah, just any comic book reader. If you could Google different.
Like an iPad or.
No, you could even do it on PC if you want.
Okay.
There's some more popular ones like I want to say that the one is literally just called Comic Book Reader. But then there's stuff like Comic Vine, Easy Comic Reader. There's a bunch of them out there, and yeah, they accept either CBZ or CBR or PDF. So they'll actually read all of them. But a lot of people prefer the CBR because it's a much smaller file.
Okay. Okay.
So
now, when you're go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask, like, so when you sell it, in that case, like, you're just kind of giving people a link to a site you have it uploaded to, or are you emailing them the PDF? Like, how are you kind of sending them the art? Like, that's the weird thing about that as like e-commerce. I guess that's where something like Gumroad would be very advantageous, right?
Yeah. For our Kickstarter, I just sent them a link to a Dropbox folder that had the file in it for them to download. But I don't know if that's the best way. It was just I'd seen that done on a couple campaigns that I'd contributed to before, so I just kind of followed suit.
Nice. And then with the Dropbox link, like, is there a point in time where you're going to take that down?
Yeah, you can set a time limit if you have like a premium account, but I don't, so I'm just gonna make a note of that. Like after a few months, I'll probably take it down.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. I was just kind of curious. It kind of is a relief because it sounds like it's a little simpler than I was making it, you know, in my
Yeah, I mean, you could probably get more complicated, but that seems to be the simplest solutions are sometimes the best.
Oh yeah, for sure. I definitely don't want more complicated.
Yeah.
So Mike, as far as the compression, so what DPI should you set your JPEGs to?
Oh man, that's a great question. I don't really know the answer, but what I did for the Life in Space book is I just looked up like common resolutions for mobile devices because I figured most people that are reading digital are probably going to read it on a mobile device, and I tried to look for like the most popular device that people were using, and I just set it to that. I didn't change the aspect ratio. I just picked whatever, either the length or the width, and I just typed that in and made all the pages conform to that. So I want to say it was like 2096 or something like that tall. I don't know.
Okay. Cool.
Nice.
All right. So yeah, I don't know. I think we've touched on quite a few different things, from printing to different platforms to sell your work online. I mean, there's so much more to this topic we could get into, but I think that's a pretty good I guess introduction. So, but if you guys in the chat, if you have, or if you're watching this on the replay, if you have any other questions, just hit me up in the comment section, or you can find Mike and ask him if it's something Mike talked about, or Josh, or whatever. So yeah, I'm sure that anytime they talk about like online stores and selling and things, you get a lot of questions, because I think that's the ultimate goal for pretty much most of the people probably here that are watching this. So that's why, even though we've probably talked about this topic, I know there's a lot of stuff that we haven't covered before, even though we've kind of had a variation on the topic. But so is there anything else that you guys want to say before we kind of tell everyone where to find us on the topic?
I guess if you're looking for printers, just avoid Kablam, please. That's just
yeah. I'm really looking forward to the rest of your series, Mike. So.
Oh yeah, I'm so excited about that. And I guess I could plug that a little bit because I don't know if I even mentioned it, but I'm doing a whole video series about printers and where to get for printing comics specifically, and I'm going to tackle every last printer that I could possibly find, I don't know if I mentioned this before we went on air or if it was after, but I'm even going to be interviewing some CEOs from some of the printing companies. So that's actually what's caused the delay, is that it got a much bigger response than I thought it was going to. And so I've gone back to kind of polish up the first episode so that it's just a little more clean and to the point. So if you are looking for more information about specific printers, like more specific information, I am going to have a video series coming out very soon of, and we're going to go deep. We're going to cover every last printer that I could find. So that'll be another good source for more information about this stuff.
Yeah, and Mike's YouTube channel, the link is in the description of this video. So is there anything else, since you're kind of talking about that, is anything else you want to promote or talk about or tell people where to find you, Mike?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm on YouTube, so you could definitely find me here. Instagram is another good place where I post a lot of work. If you are so inclined, you could check out my Patreon. I'm starting to get a little bit more active over there. That's where I share most of my high resolution stuff and comics. When I actually finish them, occasionally I'll post there. And then also the big one would be spacecatcomics.com. That takes you directly to my store, which also has all the links to get to all the rest of my stuff. So but yeah, I guess the big announcement is that my store is open. So if you go there, there's more than just one print now. And what I've been telling everybody on Instagram and on Facebook is if I've drawn it, you can buy it, because as you've heard through the show, I've got like a little print shop set up in my house now. So like if you like this owl guy, like I can get you a print shipped out by tomorrow. So, yep, there we go. That's my plug for tonight.
Okay, Josh, what about you?
Yeah, so just check out the comic that I'm always laboring over at quarterlystories.com or on Topis at Quarterly Stories. You can check me out on Instagram. I post progress of stuff like this, like throughout the different stages. So like, it'll go from like rough pencils to tight pencils, and it's really interesting if you're interested in process and stuff like that. And then other than that, check me out on the YouTubes, which the link will be below, but you can just look for Joshua Kemble with a K in any of those situations and end up there. Yeah.
Awesome. And as far as me, you're on my channel, so you know where to find me there. I think it's May 24th through 27th. I will be at Phoenix Comic Fest, Artist Alley, in the Artist Alley, tables AA 11401 and 11403. You can find me there, and I'm on Facebook, and I'm on Instagram, all that stuff. So that's pretty much, and you can find me at circworks.com, and that's where my online store is. Or you can just go to madsciencesupplycompany.com, and that will take you directly to my store and so that's kind of like a direct link. So just to let everyone know, I want to thank everyone in the chat. There's a lot of people in the chat, a lot of great questions and stuff, and actually we got a chance to actually answer some of those. Sometimes we kind of are so busy in our conversation we miss out on that. But I want to thank everyone in the chat. Thank everyone that's watching this after it's uploaded and everything. And just to let you guys know, if you're new to this, you may look at the numbers and you see that it kind of skips a number if you're just looking at it on my channel. Well, the reason for that is the numbers that you don't see on my channel, they're on Josh's channel, because we switch back and forth. So it's if you want to know exactly where we're going to be and what time we're going to be, because sometimes we're Thursday, sometimes we're Wednesday, it depends. The best way to know exactly where we're going to be is to follow our newsletter, and that link is in the description. We don't spam you or anything. We just, like 30 minutes ahead of time, we send out a little link to let you know where we're going to be, what channel we're going to be, and where you can find the show. So yeah, and I think that's all we have to say. And so we will see everyone next week. And yeah, I guess that is all.
Cool.
Thanks again to everyone in the chat.